Hello, I'm Aisha. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Get to know me a little.
Imagine for a second, just as a staggering thought experiment, right? What if every dragon myth, every ancient wizard, every piece of folklore you've ever just dismissed as a fairy tale wasn't actually made up?
Right. Like, what if it wasn't just human imagination running wild?
Exactly. And, take it a step further. What if all those wild sci-fi concepts about, like, galactic federations and cloaked warships, what if all of that was actually suppressed memory?
It's a massive premise. I mean, it completely upends how we even view storytelling.
It totally does.
Yeah.
What if our fiction is just a symptom of this massive hidden metaphysical war for human consciousness?
If you actually follow that logic, the authors of our greatest myths aren't just, creative geniuses. They're unknowingly translating lingering data from a wider suppressed reality.
Yeah, they're like antennas picking up a lost signal. And that is exactly the territory we are exploring in today's deep dive.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Oh, for sure. We are looking at a custom-tailored stack of material centered around the first 15 chapters of a book by Leslie M. Laws. It's called Caught Between Two Worlds.
Which is the first installment in the Chronicles of Dragondom and Beyond series.
Right. But what makes our mission today so unique is that we aren't just reading the text. We also have a series of incredibly detailed, independent AI reviews of the book.
Yeah, that part is fascinating.
Isn't it? We have artificial intelligence analyzing human and supposedly superhuman consciousness. It's breaking down the logical structure, the genre placement, and the actual metaphysical physics of the story.
And the AI's perspective is vital here, I think, because on its surface, this book reads like an absolute collision of genres.
Oh, a total collision.
You have classic portal fantasy just running headlong into hard military space opera. The AI's algorithms actually flagged this immediately.
Right, because it's jarring.
It is. It noted how jarring it can be to see an ancient elven kingdom discussed in the exact same breath as holographic Milky Way maps and Arcturian teleportation zones.
Which is exactly why our goal today is to pull this text apart and look at the gears turning underneath. Because underneath that wild surface is an intricately plotted metaphysical thesis.
Yeah, a thesis about DNA upgrades, quantum timelines, and the literal physics of frequency.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand those physics, we really have to start grounded in a reality that feels familiar to you, the listener, before the text just completely shatters it.
We have to start with the protagonist, Aisha.
Right. So Aisha starts off as a completely normal earthling. She's living a mundane life, but she has this pervasive, just nagging feeling of being an outsider.
Yeah, she mentions feeling like people perceive her as strange, like she's operating in a slightly different wavelength that she can't quite articulate.
And the AI review actually paused on this early characterization, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It pointed out that the alienated protagonist is, a total staple of fantasy.
Oh yeah, the chosen one who doesn't fit in.
Exactly. But in this specific text, that alienation isn't treated as a psychological quirk or some personality flaw. It's actually treated as a biological symptom.
Wait, really? A biological symptom?
Yeah. Aisha's feeling of disconnection is her suppressed higher frequency consciousness physically bumping up against a dense low frequency environment.
Wow. So she's essentially like a piece of high-end software trying to run on an outdated, corrupted operating system.
That's a great way to put it.
And the system keeps glitching. And that glitch manifests as this inexplicable magnetic pull she feels toward a very specific location.
Avebury.
Yes, this tiny ancient village called Avebury in the West Country of England. I mean, we're talking about a place with a population of maybe 500 people.
But the crucial detail is that this village is nestled entirely within a megalithic stone circle.
Which is a real place, Avebury. It's known for its massive Neolithic stone circles, which are older even than Stonehenge.
Right, but in the cosmology of Law's universe, these aren't just picturesque historical ruins for tourists.
No, not at all.
Avebury represents Earth's lingering physical connection to ancient ley lines. The text explains that these megalithic stones are essentially dormant frequency generators.
That's so cool.
They are the remnants of a time before the Earth was biologically and spiritually quarantined.
And Aisha is so driven by this instinctual pull that she moves heaven and earth just to lease a cottage there. She feels she needs to work with what she calls the ancient dragon temple that's embedded in the landscape.
And she eventually meets these two enigmatic women, right, the Avebury sisters.
Yeah, who seem to act as gatekeepers to this whole area. But when she finally accesses the portal, I have to admit, when I first read the outline, I rolled my eyes a bit.
You did? Why?
Well, I just felt like we've seen the wardrobe portal a million times, the magic mirror, the rabbit hole. How is this any different from someone just stepping into Narnia?
Okay, that's a crucial distinction to make because understanding how this portal works is literally the key to the entire book's underlying physics.
Okay, walk me through it.
So a traditional fantasy portal is spatial and physical, right? You turn a brass handle, you step through a wooden frame, and geographically you are just somewhere else.
Right.
The portal Aisha encounters in Avebury does not operate on physical space. It operates strictly on frequency and vibration.
So she isn't just walking through a doorway?
Not at all. Aisha explains that her own internal vibrational field had to rise to a very specific, sustained level before she could even perceive the gateway.
Let alone interact with it.
Exactly. Let alone interact with its guardian, who is this celestial warrior named Little One, who happens to be a dragon.
Of course.
She is stepping through a fracture in time and space by aligning her personal energy signature to match the frequency of the destination.
Okay, I want to make sure we're getting this mechanic right. It's like, imagine someone realizing they've been wearing virtual reality goggles their entire life. Moving to Avebury isn't just a lifestyle choice to go off the grid and, live in a quaint country cottage. It's like she finally found the physical location of the Wi-Fi router for the entire universe.
I love that analogy.
And she's desperately trying to figure out the password to connect to the broader network.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. She is increasing her personal bandwidth to download a broader spectrum of reality.
And the portal takes her to Arianel, right? This secret world or dragondom.
Yes, but because it's a frequency gate, she also describes accessing future possible timelines of Earth. It is literal quantum jumping based on harmonic resonance.
That is wild. I want you, listening right now, to think about moments in your own life where you felt an inexplicable pull.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
maybe you walked into a room or visited a new city and felt a strange, heavy sense of déjà vu, or just an instant unearned connection to a place.
The book suggests that in Aisha's reality, that pull isn't just a random firing of neurons.
Right, it's the wider universe or a higher version of yourself trying to ping your suppressed biological system through all the noise of daily life.
It's an invitation to take the VR goggles off.
But the text makes it very clear that taking those goggles off is a massive shock to the system.
Oh, definitely. When Aisha finally crosses over into Arianel, the reality she's confronted with is just staggering. The scope of the narrative explodes outward.
It really does. Once she's through, she is looking at a universe that is radically more ancient, populated, and complex than human history admits.
And this is where the genre blending hits you like a freight train.
Seriously, let's map out this cosmic battlefield because at first it looks like standard fantasy fare.
The author intentionally establishes a traditional high fantasy aesthetic to begin with. Aisha meets Princess Milana of the royal elven house of Arianel.
Right. She interacts with an emerald dragon.
She is mentored by the High Wizard, complete with ice blue eyes and a staff. And she communes with the Old Tree, a vast ancient consciousness named Mistali.
Exactly. You read those chapters and you think, I know exactly how this works. We're in a Tolkien realm. Grab a sword. Let's go find a magic ring.
Yeah, it feels very familiar.
But then, without warning, the text just pulls the rug out from under you.
It completely expands into hard military science fiction.
Yes. Suddenly the conversation isn't just about elves and mystical forests. We're talking about Arcturian spies running covert operations.
We are talking about physical teleportation zones that function as interstellar transit hubs.
Aisha literally witnesses massive, cloaked black spacecraft entering Earth's atmosphere, diving seamlessly into the oceans.
And she is shown a high-tech holographic map of the Milky Way galaxy used to track the real-time movements of Galactic Federation starships.
Which is just wow. The AI review actually spent a significant amount of computing power analyzing this specific collision of tropes, didn't it?
It did. It noted that the world building sits right alongside massive sci-fi properties like Star Wars, Stargate, or even the Mass Effect video games in terms of its galactic political conflict.
But it closed that conflict in the mythic resonance of The Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. The AI categorized it as genre-defying.
I have to admit, when I first saw elves and spaceships in the same chapter, it felt like two completely different jigsaw puzzles just mashed together.
It can definitely feel that way at first.
So how does the author actually justify this without breaking the reader's immersion? Like, if Earth is quarantined, How are cloaked ships just flying around?
Well, the justification is actually deeply logical within the lore. Arianel is not just a magical kingdom hidden in a forest.
Okay, what is it then?
It functions as a secure quarantine zone and an interdimensional transit hub. The elves and dragons aren't just mythical beasts, they are highly advanced, ancient terraformers.
Oh, wow.
They are an ecological security force assigned by a massive governing body called the High Council of the All That Is.
So the elves are basically the Galactic Federation's park rangers, but with cosmic authority.
Essentially, yes. Their job is to prepare planets for colonization and ensure that the vibrational balance of a world is maintained.
And they need this level of organization because they are fighting a highly technological, multidimensional enemy.
Yes, and we have to talk about the villains, because the way they are described is genuinely unsettling.
It really is. The text introduces the Old Empire, which is sometimes referred to as the Darkling. And this isn't just a grumpy dark lord sitting on a jagged throne.
No, this is a massive, coordinated coalition of different species. It's a bureaucratic empire of suppression.
The text identifies several key factions within this old empire, right?
Yeah, you have the reptilian entities who act as the primary manipulators and managers.
Then you have the Draco, who serve as the brute force enforcers.
And you have beings associated with the Archons, which function almost like a parasitic, overarching consciousness that feeds on low-frequency emotions like fear and trauma.
And then you have the Mantis insectoid scientists, which is just a terrifying combination of words.
The AI review found the inclusion of the mantis beings particularly fascinating. These are archetypes pulled from modern fringe ufology and ancient Gnosticism, woven into this cohesive antagonistic force.
Right.
But the mantis insectoids are crucial because they aren't soldiers. They are genetic engineers. They are the architects of the biological suppression we'll discuss in a moment.
But against this terrifying coalition of reptilians and insectoid geneticists, the forces of light have a very specific countermeasure.
Yes, they do.
And this completely reframed how I view a classic fantasy creature. The dragons. I mean, you usually think of dragons as flying tanks, right?
Right.
Fire-breathing weapons of mass destruction.
Right, the ultimate brute force.
But in this universe, their primary function is entirely different. Here's where it gets really interesting.
The High Wizard explains that dragons have been called back to the front lines because they possess a highly specialized metaphysical ability. They can see lingering, hidden darkness within any consciousness.
They are essentially cosmic security scanners.
Exactly. The text points out a vulnerability in the good guys. Other light warriors, even highly advanced Arcturians or elves, often fail to see deep-seated corruption.
Why is that?
Because their own frequency is naturally oriented to look for the light, the potential, and the goodness in people. They project their own inherent goodness onto their enemies, which makes them susceptible to deception.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
But the dragons, however, operate differently. They can detect the subtle, dissonant frequency of malevolence no matter how well it is cloaked.
They are the ultimate lie detectors in a war that is primarily fought through illusion and deception.
Precisely.
I love that concept. It takes a creature of raw, brute physical power and elevates it to a creature of profound metaphysical discernment.
It's a brilliant twist.
So we have elven ecological security forces, Arcturian spies, and dragon lie detectors fighting an interdimensional empire of reptilians and mantis scientists. It is an epic cosmic chessboard.
But it begs the ultimate question, why here?
Right. Out of an entire holographic Milky Way map, why is Earth, our seemingly insignificant little blue dot, the focal point of this massive galactic struggle?
And the answer to that question shifts the book from a military space opera into a profound philosophical argument about the physics of consciousness.
Because the text states that Earth is not just another random planet in the Federation. It was designated as a special zone.
Special in what way? Because looking around at the historical record of Earth, it doesn't exactly look like a heavily protected VIP lounge.
Not at all. It was designated as a zone of pure, unadulterated free will. No external interference allowed.
And in the cosmology of this universe, extreme free will without boundary is actually incredibly dangerous.
That's a heavy philosophical concept to just drop into a sci-fi narrative. We are culturally conditioned to view free will as the ultimate unquestionable good.
We are. But the text proposes a different perspective. It explains that because Earth had absolutely no boundaries on free will, the planetary vibration, the literal, measurable frequency of the collective human consciousness began to plummet.
It dropped so heavily and the energy became so dense with conflict and ego that the higher frequency beings, the elementals, the elves, the dragons, could no longer physically survive in the environment.
The atmosphere became literally toxic to them on a quantum level.
Yes, the dissonance was too great. So they were forced to abandon the physical 3D realm of Earth over 300,000 Earth years ago.
300,000 years. That means humanity has been driving the bus completely unsupervised for hundreds of millennia.
And continuously crashing it, according to the lore.
Wow.
However, the text notes a very specific turning point. It states that the elementals and dragons have slowly begun returning to the physical plane of Earth in the year 2020, as the veils thin.
2020. Well, that certainly explains a lot about the chaos of that particular year.
Right. If the veil wasn't just thinning, but essentially catching fire as higher frequencies tried to push back into a dense reality, it would explain all the global friction.
But this 300,000-year drop in frequency, it wasn't just a natural accident, was it? It wasn't just humans exercising poor judgment and making bad choices.
No, there was active, calculated sabotage.
This is the core tragedy of Earth in this narrative. The old empire didn't conquer Earth with a massive fleet of warships. They didn't need to.
They conquered it from the inside out.
Remember those mantis and sectoid scientists? They altered the genetics of the biological avatars seated on Earth.
The biological sabotage. This is where the story shifts from a fun space opera to something that feels deeply paranoid and brilliantly conceived.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text describes the old empire placing what are called J seals directly onto human DNA strands.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of a J seal, because this is fascinating.
Mm.
To go back to our earlier tech analogies, it's like Earth is a quarantined hard drive.
Right.
The Manta scientists wrote a piece of intergalactic malware, the J seals, and hard-coded it into our biological operating system.
And because of that malware, humanity has been trapped in a corrupted loop for eons, completely forgetting we ever had admin privileges.
The malware analogy is perfect, because a seal, by definition, restricts access. In this lore, a J seal is an artificial frequency block.
It prevents the human DNA from receiving or holding higher light codes. It enforces a cycle of absolute amnesia.
So it traps human consciousness in a continuous loop of reincarnation, but within a closed holographic illusion.
Exactly. The human soul returns to the physical body, immediately forgets its cosmic origins due to the genetic seal, lives a constrained, fear-based life that feeds the archons.
Dies and is recycled right back into the illusion.
Yes. The J seal severs the connection to source consciousness.
And this is exactly why the AI review made those heavy comparisons to other massive sci-fi works.
The AI explicitly compared the underlying architecture of Caught Between Two Worlds to The Matrix and Frank Herbert's Dune.
Oh, Dune makes sense.
The AI recognized that the ultimate frontier in this story isn't outer space, it's the inner space of the human mind.
The old empire's ultimate weapon isn't a Death Star that blows up planets, it's the suppression of frequency.
From a purely strategic standpoint, why destroy a perfectly good, resource-rich planet when you can genetically enslave the consciousness of its inhabitants and siphon their creative energy?
It's a flawless prison because the inmates will fight to defend the bars they cannot see.
And those bars are literally woven into the double helix of their DNA.
So if humanity's biology has been suppressed by this galactic malware for 300,000 years, how does an individual ever break free? How do you uninstall a J seal?
You don't do it quietly, and you don't do it easily.
No kidding.
Through Aisha's journey, specifically in a very intense sequence in Chapter 12, the author shows us exactly what breaking those seals and upgrading the biological avatar actually entails, and it is brutal.
I was actually taken aback by Chapter 12. This isn't a typical fantasy scene where a fairy godmother waves a wand and suddenly the protagonist has glowing hands and superpowers.
Not at all. It reads more like a detailed account of severe medical trauma.
It is an initiation through profound biological shock. Aisha undergoes what the text frames as a massive data download and frequency upgrade, guided by her dragon companion, Little One.
She describes the process starting somewhat peacefully, right? With the warming violet fog enveloping her.
Yeah, but it escalates terrifyingly fast. She's suddenly hit with flashing, uncontrollable visions. She sees Earth's forgotten past, parallel timelines, future possibilities.
She sees the AI space warriors of the Galactic Federation.
But then she's forced to see the horrific reality of the old empire. She sees the archons, the mantis insectoids, the reptilians.
She is forced to intimately witness the malevolence we talked about earlier.
And naturally, her human instinct is to look away, to reject the horror.
But the text notes that she is held in place by a quiet, insistent voice telling her she must remember these beings because they exist.
She cannot effectively fight an enemy she refuses to acknowledge.
It's really the end of her innocence.
The AI review made a brilliant analytical point regarding this scene. It noted that the narrative forces Aisha to carry both light and shadow.
Right, because in many simplistic fantasy tales, the hero is purely aligned with light and remains completely ignorant of the true depth of the dark.
But here, the AI algorithms calculated that witnessing the darkness without being consumed by it is a prerequisite for holding a higher frequency.
She has to understand the true gravity of the war to be an effective combatant.
But the physical toll this takes on her body. I mean, I found myself reading this and thinking, why does it have to be so painful?
Yeah, why can't a spiritual awakening just be a peaceful Zen experience? Why can't she just meditate her way into a higher frequency?
Exactly. But it's because of the literal physics established in the universe. We go back to the idea of the avatar. You're attempting to force a massive cosmic amount of high-frequency energy into a dense, three-dimensional biological container that has been artificially genetically suppressed for millennia.
Right. It's exactly like trying to download petabytes of raw interdimensional data through a 1995 dial-up modem.
The hardware wasn't built for that bandwidth. It's going to overheat and start smoking.
And the author does not shy away from the physical reality of that overheating. The text is very explicit about Aisha's suffering.
She experiences severe vertigo. She wakes up incredibly dizzy and disoriented.
She says her head feels like it will literally burst from the pressure. She describes the sheer, terrifying power of the energetic forces rising through her spine.
She is pinned between the grounding force of the earth and the pulling force of the sky, suspended in midair, physically spinning out of control.
Until she finally opens her mouth and sings what she describes as her cosmic song, which is immediately echoed by the consciousness of 1,000 dragons in her mind.
And only then does the pressure break, and she passes out into the void.
It's not just an awakening, it's a violent rebirth. She is literally breaking the J-seals on her DNA through sheer energetic force.
Rewiring her nervous system to handle the cosmic current.
It highlights a gritty realism that really grounds the metaphysical concepts. In this universe, spiritual growth and true awakening require incredible physical and mental resilience.
The avatar must be fundamentally altered, cell by cell, to hold the frequencies necessary to fight the old empire.
Okay, so Aisha survives the dial-up modem exploding. Her DNA is upgraded, the J-seals are broken, she's fully online, and her frequency is raised.
But to what end? What is a single human woman from an English village actually supposed to do against a multi-dimensional empire?
This brings us to Chapter 15, where the High Wizard finally lays out the grand, overarching strategy of the cosmic war.
And I have to say, the politics of this highly advanced universe are just as messy and bureaucratic as ours.
They are deeply pragmatic, almost shockingly so. In Chapter 15, the High Wizard drops a massive expositional bomb regarding the internal conflict within the supposed good guys.
We learn that the Galactic Federation of Galaxies, the massive organization with the starships and the Arcturian spies, actually voted to abandon Earth to the old empire.
Which sounds completely crazy. They're the forces of light. Why would they abandon billions of souls to genetic slavery?
But it goes back to that concept of extreme free will we discussed, right?
Yes. The Federation operates under a strict prime directive of non-interference. Because Earth was designated a free will zone, the Federation's bureaucracy determined that Earth's inhabitants were technically choosing their lower vibration.
Even though humanity was being actively manipulated and genetically suppressed by the J-seals, the Federation argued that stepping in with military force would violate the fundamental law of the universe.
It's galactic bureaucracy at its absolute worst.
It's like calling tech support because your computer have a virus and they say, sorry, your hard drive is infected with old empire malware, but you didn't check the right terms and conditions box 300,000 years ago, so legally we can't help you.
That is precisely the paralysis the High Wizard describes. The Federation was bound by its own legalistic rules, watching a planet slowly die.
But the text reveals that someone high up refused to accept that bureaucratic apathy. Commander Michael.
Commander Michael. Now, anyone with a background in theology will recognize the parallel to the Archangel Michael.
Right.
But here, he is framed in a military context as the commander-in-chief of the forces of light, operating directly from source consciousness.
And when the Federation votes to abandon Earth, Michael basically goes completely rogue.
Against the explicit wishes of the Galactic Federation Council, Michael forms an elite, highly covert group. the 144,000 light warriors.
144,000. That is a number that shows up in esoteric traditions, ancient texts, and prophecies around the world, most notably the Book of Revelation.
But Laws repurposes it here, giving it a very specific sci-fi military application.
They are essentially an elite counterinsurgency force drafted directly from source, the highest, purest level of consciousness.
And their deployment strategy was brilliant, but came with an incredibly high risk of failure. They didn't arrive in cloaked warships with lasers blazing. They arrived as sleeper cells.
I found the strategy fascinating. They receded into every race and demographic on Earth.
They were born as normal human babies, complete with the J-seals and the biological amnesia, willingly subjecting themselves to the holographic illusion.
The entire plan hinged on the hope that their innate hidden frequency would eventually be strong enough to break through the genetic programming from the inside out.
And what's even more intriguing is that they weren't just seated on Earth. The High Wizard reveals to Aisha that members of the 144,000 were also seated within the ranks of the Galactic Federation itself.
Completely shielded from detection by the Council.
Wait, I need clarification on that. If the Federation are the good guys, why would Commander Michael need to infiltrate his own allies?
Because Source Consciousness realized that the corruption of the old empire wasn't limited to the physical quarantine of Earth.
There was a very real possibility that the light within the Federation Council members themselves was dimming.
The old empire's influence is insidious. It uses pride, bureaucracy, and fear to lower vibrations. By voting to abandon Earth, the Federation showed signs of that corruption.
So Michael's 144,000 act as a covert internal affairs monitoring group across the galaxy, as well as a planetary rescue team on Earth.
Think about the magnitude of that sacrifice. You have these incredibly powerful cosmic beings who volunteered to forget everything they are, to get trapped in the painful, dense illusion of Earth.
Just on the astronomical chance that they would wake up in time to dismantle the system from within.
It's like elite, deep-cover intelligence agents who have been entirely brainwashed to think they are just normal accountants, teachers, and...
Deep dive hosts.
Exactly. And now as the veil thins in 2020, the alarm clock is finally going off.
But as the High Wizard grimly notes, it's a highly dangerous game with severe casualties. The amnesia is powerful.
Many of these sleeper cells have paid a high price. Their physical avatars have been disabled by the density of the planet.
Some have actually been successfully manipulated and turned by the old empire's psychological tactics.
Others are just wandering through life, struggling with severe depression, unable to remember their mission.
The High Wizard states that, as of this moment, only a third of the 144,000 seated on Earth have managed to remember who they are.
Only a third. That means the vast majority of the rescue team is still asleep while the ship is sinking. That is cutting the timeline terribly close.
This raises an important question, though, because this entire revelation sets up what I think is the biggest mind-bender of the whole book.
Oh, the fractile concept.
Yes, it's a concept that completely redefines how the characters view themselves.
The fractile concept is brilliant. The AI review dedicated a large portion of its analysis to this idea because it elegantly solves a recurring logical problem in modern science fiction.
The anthrocentric problem, right? The Luke Skywalker syndrome.
Yeah, why is it always a random, untrained human farm boy or a normal woman from an English village who is somehow the ultimate key to saving an entire galaxy of highly advanced aliens?
Exactly. Why would a galactic federation care about Aisha? Laws solves this problem by dismantling the idea of a singular identity.
Through Aisha's interactions, she has a stunning realization while speaking with the elven princess Milana. She realizes they aren't just allies.
They are the exact same person.
I had to read that paragraph twice. How can a human woman in England and an elven princess in Arianel be the same person?
Because they are fractals of the exact same higher soul.
In this cosmology, the higher soul, sometimes referred to in esoteric literature as the monad, or a spark of source consciousness, does not just incarnate into one body at a time.
It partitions itself. It fragments its immense consciousness into multiple different avatars, operating simultaneously across different dimensions and timelines.
To experience and influence multiple realities at once.
Let me see if I can map this out with another analogy. It's like playing a massive multiplayer online game, but instead of playing one character, you are logged into 5 different servers at the exact same time.
Controlling 5 different characters, all trying to complete a massive coordinated raid.
Exactly. Aisha is the human avatar trying to break the J-seals on the dense, difficult Earth server.
Milana is the elven avatar maintaining the ecological frequency on the Arianel server.
And when they finally meet and connect their consciousness, their power isn't just added together, it multiplies exponentially.
So what does this all mean? It completely redefines the idea of the self. You, as an individual, are not a singular, isolated point of consciousness struggling alone in the dark.
You are merely one active node in a vast, multidimensional network of your own overarching soul.
And the ultimate mission of the 144,000 isn't just about swinging swords at reptilians. It's about waking up and reintegrating these fragmented pieces of consciousness back into a cohesive whole.
Because only a fully reintegrated soul has the harmonic resonance powerful enough to shift the entire timeline of a planet.
Okay, my perspective on reality is definitely shifting, just tracing the logic of this world. Let's take a macro view for a second.
Sure.
We have Arturian spies, ancient stone circles acting as Wi-Fi routers, mantis geneticists writing DNA malware, and 144,000 multidimensional sleeper cells trying to wake up.
It's a lot.
Why does a story with this specific, wildly complex blend of elements strike such a massive chord with readers right now?
Let's turn back to the AI algorithms for an objective appraisal, because the AI seemed to think this book was incredibly timely.
It did. The AI categorized Law's work as cross-dimensional myth-making. It explicitly placed Caught Between Two Worlds on the analytical shelf next to some heavy hitters in modern speculative fiction.
Identifying shared thematic DNA.
They compared it to N.K. Jemison's The Broken Earth trilogy, Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time, and Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter's The Long Earth.
That is phenomenal literary company to keep.
And the AI broke down exactly why it made those connections. With The Broken Earth, the algorithm saw the parallel of a female-led narrative focused on the painful recreation of a broken world.
Featuring a protagonist who must act as a bridge between warring factions, carrying both the light and the shadow.
With Children of Time, it recognized the synthesis of hard science, like sentient AI and quantum mechanics merged seamlessly with ancient consciousness and spiritual evolution.
And with The Long Earth, it saw the exploration of parallel dimensions interwoven with spiritual and scientific thought.
But the AI said something really profound in its concluding summary that stuck with me. It stated that this book belongs on that shelf, not because of imitation, but because Aisha's world feels inevitable.
As if it was always waiting to be written.
It hits the same archetypal chord, the inner knowing that reality is layered and that consciousness itself is the true frontier.
That is the ultimate synthesis of why this matters. The book appeals to the modern reader because it validates the overwhelming, often unspoken anxieties of our current era.
We live in a time of intense, paralyzing information overload. We are hyper-aware of algorithms, echo chambers, and social media manipulation.
Interestingly, the text actually explicitly mentions social media and news cycles as modern tools utilized by old Empire agents on Earth.
To control timelines, spread fear, and keep the planetary frequency low.
So the old Empire essentially uses algorithmic outrage to keep our J-seals intact.
That actually makes terrifying sense.
It is a brilliant modernization of the ancient concept of demonic influence. It's algorithmic suppression. The book taps into the collective modern anxiety that our reality is being artificially constrained.
That we are being deliberately manipulated into a lower vibration of fear, division, and exhaustion so that we don't look up and realize our true potential.
You, listening right now, balancing your busy life, dealing with the relentless news cycle, the algorithms, the endless pings on your phone, the stress of just existing.
This book taps into that secret, quiet, nagging feeling we all have at 2 a.m. That maybe, just maybe, reality is far wider and more magical than we were taught in a textbook.
That the mundane physical world is just a veil, a holographic projection, and there is a massive, intricate cosmic architecture operating just behind it.
It takes the modern human condition, the alienation, the anxiety, the desperate search for meaning, and it scales it up to a cosmic metaphysical conflict.
It tells the reader that your personal struggle to find peace, purpose, and clarity isn't just a psychological issue. It is active participation in a galactic war for consciousness.
It profoundly empowers the individual. It says, you aren't just a stressed-out cog in a meaningless machine. You might literally be a sleeper cell of light.
And that is a hell of an empowering narrative to carry with you.
Okay, let's do a comprehensive summary of the vast territory we've covered today. We started grounded in the mundane, with a woman named Aisha feeling like an alienated outsider.
Drawn by an inexplicable pull to a quiet village with an ancient stone circle.
We discovered that this stone circle was actually a frequency portal, requiring a vibrational match to access Aeronel, which serves as a quarantine zone and transit hub managed by elves and dragons.
We learn the tragic history of Earth, that it was designated a free will zone, leading to a drop in frequency that allowed an old empire of reptilians and mantis scientists to infect humanity with interdimensional malware called J-seals.
300,000 years ago, trapping us in an amnesiac loop.
We intimately witnessed Aisha's brutal biological upgrade in Chapter 12, where she endured physical shock to break those genetic seals, rewiring her nervous system to process interdimensional data.
And recognize both the light and the shadow of the enemy.
And finally, we uncovered the grand sweeping strategy of the cosmos. Commander Michael's rogue operation deploying 144,000 cosmic sleeper cells seeded across time and space as multidimensional fractals.
Fighting a desperate covert war to wake up and remove the genetic malware before it's too late. It is a stunning, intricately constructed blend of fantasy aesthetics, sci-fi military strategy, and deep spiritual philosophy.
It serves as a powerful reminder that the most profound explorations of the human condition, of trauma and awakening, often require the largest, most fantastical canvases to truly comprehend.
We've taken the standard, everyday lens of reality, and we haven't just cleaned it, we've replaced it with a multidimensional holographic scanner.
We really have.
We've peered through the veil today, and I hope exploring the mechanics of this universe has shifted your frequency, even just a little bit.
I know it shifted mine.
But I want to leave you with one final, lingering idea to mull over as you step back into your seemingly normal 3D reality. Think back to the concept of the fractal.
Oh, this is the best part.
In the book, Aisha discovers that Princess Milana isn't just a separate ally. She is another expression of Aisha's exact own soul, living out a different timeline, fighting a different front of the exact same war.
Right.
If the underlying premise of this universe holds true, who or what are the other fractals of you doing right now across the multiverse?
What incredible battles are they fighting in higher dimensions while you sit in traffic or fold laundry or answer emails?
And more importantly, if the cosmic alarm clock is finally ringing across the galaxy, are you the sleeper cell that's about to wake up?